Again, Emily Pritchard is co-founder and COO of Social Lights. Social Lights is a women-owned social business consultancy located in the North Loop of Minneapolis. And she's going to talk to us about a variety of updates on the various social media platforms that I mentioned earlier, and also discuss emerging technologies. As I said, one of the fun parts of my job is to interact with you folks and help you on your entrepreneurial journey. And Martha, her co-founder, is up here in front, and it was my pleasure and privilege to interact with these fabulous young ladies as they were getting their business up and running. So with that, Emily Pritchard.
Not only has our business evolved a lot over the last 5 years, but social media has evolved over the last 5 years. So I'm sure when Graham gave a talk on social media, it probably has changed since then. So I'm excited to share some of those updates with you. A little agenda. I think it's always good to kind of set the stage with what we're going to go over today. So I'll give you a little introduction again on kind of the Socialites, what we do as a company, before we dive into an overview of the social media platforms, kind of picking the main 6 right now, and going into details on userships, changes, kind of what's coming next. Talk a little bit about social media for business. That's really what we focus on, and assuming this is Club Entrepreneur, there's a lot of people who are starting businesses, own businesses, have managed marketing departments at businesses. So this will really speak to you and how do I do social media in my business. We'll go over some social media tools, not only how do I do social, but how do I do it cost effectively and be really efficient and smart about how I do social media. Then we'll kind of recap and open it up for a little Q&A. So if you are on social in the crowd, I highly encourage you to join the conversation. At the Socialites is our social media, our company's handle, and then today's hashtag is #PlugEStateSocial. So a little bit of background introduction. I told you about how Martha and I started our company out of the entrepreneurship program at St. Thomas. That was in January of 2011, and we're excited to have started a company here in Minnesota, both being from out of state. St. Thomas brought us here, and we've stayed. So the Socialites, we consider ourselves a social business consultancy. Technically, we would fall in the advertising agency or marketing consultancy category, but we chose social business consultancy because we don't want to think about social as a marketing silo. A lot of times social gets put on the marketing team and it stays there, and that's the only business function it serves. But we believe at the Socialites that social can really help drive growth across a lot of different areas of your business, whether that's in finding new talent, working with the millennial generation, or it's making sure that your employees are engaged and talking positively about you online. There's a lot of ways that social media can influence and affect your business beyond just the marketing department. Don't get me wrong, we love doing marketing campaigns too, but we like to focus on your business and driving growth. And really our purpose as an agency is to inspire and nurture meaningful human connections. So beyond being on Facebook all day or sitting behind a computer and doing Twitter, we really feel like we're building relationships. And so our company's core values are looking for people and looking for clients and businesses that are curious, that care about other people, that are passionate, that want to grow, and that really want to give back to the community. So what makes us a little bit differently, and this is what we'll talk about social today, is really our methodology is what makes social really efficient and cost effective. We break it down into who are the people on your team that should have a social role, what is the process or the processes that should be followed or put into place to make sure that we're doing it effectively, and then again, what kind of technology are we using to enable our conversations to happen in an efficient way. So at the center of this is what we consider your company's social capability. So everything that we've talked about today, from how are the platforms changing, what technology should we use, who are the people on our team executing on our strategies, we're really focused on building that as a social capability for your company. And instead of a social media department. So now I'll dive into an overview of the social platforms, and we're probably going to fly through this pretty quickly because we don't have a lot of time today, but there's a lot of social media platforms out there. This is a prism we like to show, and within each little slice of that prism are several technologies that kind of do the same function at various levels for small businesses to enterprises. Some do social media listening, some do publishing. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of noise, and I'm sure that some of you have struggled with it. How do I wrap my arms around it? So we really want to break that down today and make it seem like you can do it, because you can. So the channels that we're going to focus on today are Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Google+. We'll dive right into Facebook. So Facebook is by far the largest platform. There's 1.5 billion monthly active users, and just a month ago, on August 24th, they actually had 1 billion users on Facebook in one day, and that was a huge milestone that they've been waiting to hit. So if you were on Facebook that day, give yourself a pat on the back, you made history. You can see here, users share 2.5 billion pieces of content each day. Some people say with millennials that Facebook is dead, none of the young kids are going on Facebook, but from a business standpoint, this is an unmatched platform in terms of the number of people who have adopted, and then just from the back end of what we know about people in terms of advertising to specific demographics, gender, geo-targeting. Facebook is the most powerful platform that you can use, and it's usually the one that's first to market to introduce new technology, and a lot of the platforms follow Facebook. So it's definitely not one to overlook. Actually in 2011, right when we were getting our business started, Facebook was only available to people as consumers. People friended each other, it was a really peer-to-peer, sharing your life stories, and then brands started to jump into the conversation as friends. So all of a sudden Coca-Cola was friending you. You're like, what? They're not really a human, they're not a person. So Facebook, in order to protect the consumer, created business pages. So that's really, there's over 30 million business pages right now, and that's where a lot of our focus is. Businesses operate different than consumers do on Facebook. Facebook is really out to, again, protect the consumer, make sure that the experience is optimized. We're still that human to human, I want to share with my mom photos or see pictures of the grandkids. But Facebook is, because businesses have the money and the dollars and they want to reach those people, they are launching an experience for businesses, and then they can tap into that advertising. So what's new for Facebook? Facebook launched a portal for businesses called Facebook for Business. What it allows you to do is to work closely with an agency or with your social media team so that you don't have to give people passwords anymore to jump onto your social accounts. So one thing about social media for business is to have proper policies in place and have different processes where you're allowing certain users at your company to have access to your profile in order to post on your behalf. But then you're giving them limited access to what they're able to do, because the last thing you want is a disgruntled employee going on to your Facebook page and changing profile pictures or posting anything that could damage your company's reputation. So Facebook for Business really kind of helps facilitate that process in terms of hooking people to your business Facebook page and then giving them the access that they need to it. There's also Facebook Notes for publishers. Facebook Notes is something where you used to be able to go online and write a note and you could take your friends in it. But Facebook, now that they have their business model figured out and they know how to make money, we've all kind of seen how traditional news is actually shifting more to instant news on Facebook. So they created Facebook Notes and instant articles for publishers and journalists where people are now consuming most of their news online. So if you start to see more news stories published or trending articles when you're on Facebook, it's because Facebook's kind of developing a system where they want you to see your news. They want you to come to Facebook to get those daily updates. And so they're building their platform specifically for those news platforms to do that. There's also live for Facebook mentions. I don't know if we have any celebrities in the crowd, but Facebook has their own app for people who get a high volume of mentions. So Facebook Live is actually a live streaming video service where I could live stream this whole presentation with you if you wanted to today. And then the two I'm going to dive deeper into that you as a consumer will most likely encounter is 360-degree video that will start showing up in your news feed, and also a dislike button, which is rumored to be coming. So 360-degree video, how many of you have heard of virtual reality, VR? So it's kind of the hot new topic, the Internet of Things is coming, in 2014, so just over a year ago, Facebook acquired Oculus VR, which is the largest, you can see they're like a little black mask that you put on that brings you into another virtual reality, any other space. So Mark Zuckerberg at FATE last year, the Facebook conference, had said, we really want to bring 3D images to Facebook, and at that point it seemed really far off, but now you'll start to notice that for people who are excited about the upcoming Star Trek movie that's coming out, they've actually partnered with Star Trek to allow you to watch different segments of the movie in 3D, and that will automatically show up in your newsfeed. So again, they're really partnering with publishers who are struggling right now to create content online to bring that content to users where they spend a lot of their time already, which is on Facebook. And another interesting thing that you'll start to notice is possibly a dislike button in certain cases where Mark Zuckerberg, there have been people asking for a dislike button for a long time, but as you know, it's a sensitive thing because nobody wants to see a thumbs down on their post. So what Facebook engineers are trying to put together is a way for you to tell Facebook maybe something sad or something unfortunate happened, that people won't like that anymore because it seems kind of odd to like something that's sad, but they'll actually be able to dislike it. So he actually spoke in a town hall meeting that was live streamed on Facebook a few weeks ago, and mentioned that a dislike button is coming. So you'll probably start to see that by the end of the year. So that's Facebook. Twitter is also kind of gaining speed. It really started to take off in about 2007, 2008. As you can see, they don't have as many active users on a monthly basis. But what's interesting about Twitter is really the real-time news app. It's where you can log in and your feed is constantly getting updated. So on Facebook, you might only post once a day or a couple times a week. But on Twitter, people are tweeting 3 to 10 times a day, depending on what kind of source you're doing it. And 80% of active users are on mobile. So you'll start to see I included a lot of mobile statistics because everything is really shifting to your devices, whether you're on the go or you're just checking in, in between meetings. Everyone's really using mobile as their next, or as their first preference for social. So some interesting features about Twitter. You can really engage with people in a lot of various ways. So you can reshare content, you can like content, view it later. There's a lot of different trending hashtags that you can start to follow. So when a news story breaks, the blue and black dress or the gold and white dress, a lot of people start talking about it, and Twitter recognizes that, and it will create a trending hashtag on the platform, so people can say, what's the majority of the conversation online talking about right now? And sometimes brands can jump into that conversation as well. So from a business standpoint, you can promote a certain hashtag if you really want your audience to catch on and a lot of people to start talking about a conversation that you're having or that's important to you. Those trending hashtags can be really important to attach on to the conversation at large. So what's next? Twitter actually introduced autoplay to their videos. Video is kind of everything's going towards visuals, lots of photos, lots of video sharing. So they showed autoplay just in your news feed. Anyone can upload a video to the platform, which again was really huge for news organizations. As you can imagine, they're on the scene for a news story. They just quick pull out their phone, live stream a video on Twitter, and then everybody can reshare that content. What's interesting about video ads is now Twitter's starting to get into the advertising game too, as well as Facebook. So specifically for any company that has an app, since everyone's moving to mobile, the video ads for apps are something that Twitter wanted to highlight because if 80% of users are using Twitter on their phone, it's a click of a button for them to download an app. So if anyone is working with an app company, video ads are going to have triple the amount of installs from an advertising campaign on Twitter than a normal ad, an image, or just text copy. So there's a lot of ways that you can utilize the ad platform depending on what your business is or what type of businesses that you work with. For anyone that's interested in shopping online, you can also start to actually purchase products right through the Twitter app. The Twitter has introduced this Buy Now button, which you can see here on the right. And it's a direct advertisement that goes to people who you know have visited your website or searched different products. You can actually send them an ad and they can buy that product. So one of the questions that we always get on social media is, how do you tie it back to an ROI? How can you tell me that that Facebook post or that tweet actually got me business and is hitting my bottom line? And so the reason I'm talking about some of these new advertising capabilities is because finally we're able to show you some metrics around how many clicks that we got from this ad, how did those clicks convert into customers, and to really show you what your cost per acquisition is and how we can start to move the needle in your business. So that's, as advertisers, that's really important because other modes of advertising, traditional advertising, everything's based on impressions, right? It's how many people saw that billboard, how many people watched or tuned into the TV show. With digital and with social, we can actually tell you how many people not only saw the ad, but clicked on it and converted into a customer. So it's really powerful in the long run. And as everybody looks forward to election season, Twitter is starting to test out, just in the last 3 weeks, polls. So people can actually go on Twitter and create a poll. I've given you an example of how the open readers used it. This was a great way to engage their loyal fans and followers, ask them a question, let them participate in the conversation, and then unlock special content that they can't see anywhere else. So what I'm assuming will start to happen now that election season is, there's a lot of the candidates will be doing polls, and it's a great way to learn a lot about your customers too, to learn what their preferences are, get their feedback, surprise and delight them, making them feel like they contributed to the conversation. So polls is something that will be interesting to follow. Right now it's up in the air. People don't see the value in polls, and there are still some technology tweaks. But if you see one, you'll know that it's up and coming. So I talked a little bit about how mobile is becoming really important. And what's really interesting about social media is how it pairs with other activities that we're doing. So when you think about watching Netflix or watching your favorite shows at night, what we like to say in advertising is the second screen, the device, your phone, your tablet, has actually become the first priority for brands and advertisers. Because people are having the remote in one hand and having their phone in the other hand, and they're actually talking about the content that they're consuming online. So for any brand, once you know who your audience is, and what TV shows they're watching and what their behaviors are, if you're participating in that conversation, there are studies that are showing that it's actually telling you that people who participate in those conversations have more influence and are also likely to join the conversation. It also tells you that your brand is more likely to stick in their head if you're engaging in a conversation with them while they're tuning into The Voice or House Raiders. they're more likely, if you're a brand that's engaging in those same programs and talking to them and tweeting and posting on Facebook online, that they're more likely to buy your products because they see that you have shared interests. So really interesting studies coming out about that, and I'll get into them a little bit more later. And then another interesting acquisition was back in the spring, right around South by Southwest in March, Twitter acquired Periscope, which again is all about real-time live event coverage. Not only can you take a video on Twitter and post it, but you can actually do kind of an exclusive video streaming where if someone wasn't able to make it to lunch today, I can live stream it, but after the event, they can no longer go back and get that content. So again, it's creating windows of time where you want to create a high volume of engagement for your brand, and then people who participated feel like they got extra special information, and people who didn't want to stay tuned and find out more for next time. That's kind of staying on the video bandwagon, YouTube. How many people searched on YouTube? It actually, is the second highest search engine, and it is owned by Google, so it makes sense. But it has over 1 billion users, almost a third of the internet. That means that go on YouTube. And then half of them come from mobile devices. So again, really emphasizing that second device is really important. So don't forget about it. That also rings true to, just a side note, making sure your website is mobily optimized. So if you continue to see the theme that mobile is important, just making sure, if you have a brand presence online, that it's optimized for mobile. But according to Nielsen, which is a marketing, research firm, they do a lot of reports on, futuristic technology, where are things going, how are we moving the needle in marketing and advertising. They talked about YouTube being really important to that millennial demographic. So 18 to 34-year-olds, 18 to 49-year-olds, YouTube is able to reach those people more than a cable network. So if you're a company and you're already creating some sort of video content, whether that be for TV or for another social channel, it's really important to host it on YouTube, not only because that's where people are searching and people are going to consume content, but also because you can reach a new audience on this channel. And again, mobile making up almost 40% of their global watch. So when it comes to businesses and wanting to advertise on YouTube, there are 2 different ways that you can do it through TrueView, which is a company that YouTube actually acquired. One is in-stream, so when you go to watch a video, there's an ad that's probably going to show up right before you watch it. And that ad wasn't placed there by accident. It was placed there specifically for an audience that's likely to watch that video, and that's also likely to be affected by the brand that's advertising. So that would be considered an in-stream video. And what's cool about this video is if you watch it all the way through, that's when the brand actually gets charged for it. So you can optimize your ad spend and make sure that they're really buttoned up, really tight. There's also in-display ads, which you can see here. They're the ads that show up as recommended ads on the side of the YouTube channel. So after you get done watching a video, an ad might pop up saying, hey, you might want to watch another video. So those recommendations are also influenced by the advertisers and by companies like yourself that might want to reach people who enjoy a certain topic, whether it's DIY home improvement. If you're a Rust-Oleum, maybe you're wanting to place an ad on very popular, highly viewed videos on DIY home projects. So what's next on YouTube? Again, going back to Nielsen and that marketing research, they actually have created this digital brand effect technology that allows companies to test certain content on YouTube and on social channels as a way to see if they'll work at a larger marketing spend. So for example, if you're Buffalo Wild Wings and you're going to launch a huge campaign during the bowl season in January, you could start to test during the earlier season different types of ads on YouTube or maybe an Instagram video and see which ones perform well and spend $10,000 before you make a $1 million buy on an ad network. Because what you can tell is which ones actually create more brand awareness, more positive attitudes towards your brand, or the intent to buy or the intent to go into your location. So what's cool about this is that you're starting to see kind of a blend between those traditional and digital models, where you can actually use digital as a way to make your marketing budget much more effective when you go to make a big spend. Now we're going to go to Instagram. So Instagram actually just hit 400 million active monthly users, and they were acquired by Facebook. So a lot of what's happening on Instagram right now is actually influenced by Facebook. So Instagram is a very visual platform. It was initially only made for your device, right? So you can scroll through Instagram on your iPhone or your Android, like photos, favorite photos. It was really a place to create inspiration. There's over 40 billion photos that are shared in total, and on a monthly basis or daily basis, there's 80 million. So it's really a platform where a lot of people are flocking. As we kind of talked about earlier, a lot of the younger generation aren't going to Facebook anymore, but they have thousands of followers on Instagram. It's kind of their platform. They don't feel like they're being marketed to from a business standpoint. They really feel like it's peer-to-peer sharing those life stories. So this is a great place to reach that audience. Since the acquisition of Instagram by Facebook, they've launched advertising for brands. This launched actually in 2013 to a select group of brand advertisers that had pretty large marketing budgets. But what's really exciting is that 3 weeks ago they announced that they're bringing that advertising to all businesses, including small businesses, medium-level enterprises, large companies. So you've probably noticed if you're on Instagram, a lot more companies are starting to show up in your feed as a sponsored post. What's interesting though, because the platform is so digital, so would anyone ever guess this photo on the left is from Capital One? They've created a way to make their brand stand out and become relevant as more of a lifestyle and more of how are they influencing the way that you live and the way that they participate in the conversation with you. And same with their Instagram photo here on the right. And what's interesting is that because these posts feel so much more natural and so much more lifestyle-like, they're actually getting higher engagement and higher brand recognition than other online advertising. They've also recently added, they used to just have a square, and you had to kind of get the photo and crop it right to make the square look good. But they've also added the ability to have landscape and portrait views as well. So photographers, cinematographers are really excited to have more of that widescreen view and that portrait landscape. So you no longer have to fit your Instagrams into a square, which is great. And then what most of you might be familiar with is LinkedIn. I thought this was really funny. Someone from the New Yorker, a few years ago, they had taken an image, a cartoon from the New Yorker, and put the same taglines to it. And just a few days ago, they came out and said, "Hi, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn." And it's really funny, so I would Google it. But LinkedIn is the largest professional network. So how many of you actually are part of the Club E LinkedIn group? And is that where you find out a lot of your news about lunches that are going on or different events that are happening? It's really effective, and I think Rick does a great job of giving really relevant updates that are timely, and that you'll get an email notification. So beyond just connecting with other professionals, I think it's a really great way to connect with groups of people and share content. But this is interesting. I found this on the LinkedIn website, but you can kind of see how many LinkedIn members there are across the world. And I just think that it's fascinating at how you can now connect with professionals no matter where they are, and still get a lot of the information that you need. Whether it's a future employee or someone who's reached out to you for a meeting, you can kind of do a lot of your research right within the platform. So more than 2 professional members sign up for LinkedIn every second. That's an outrageous acquisition rate. And the fastest growing is the college students. So if you're thinking about hiring people, getting to know interns for your companies, I wouldn't second guess going to LinkedIn to look at their profile. And if you have kids who are in college or in high school even, I would recommend sitting down and talking with them about the importance of having a professional profile on LinkedIn, because it is such an important place to go and, like I said, learn about someone before you meet them, or kind of scan their credentials before they come in for an interview. There's lots of different levels that you can get involved on LinkedIn. So you've got everything from your professional plan to your company profile. For companies that have different services or different products, you can actually feature those on your LinkedIn page. So it's nice to, for B2B companies to get kind of the latest updates, and even searching for other professionals based on their job title. If you're looking to tap into a specific group of people who share the same job functions over a lot of different industries, let's say you're a catering company and you want to talk to whoever is responsible for hiring the catering company to come in. LinkedIn is a place where I would say you're going to find those people just because of its search abilities. So on LinkedIn, what's next? A lot of people are making decisions, again, based on doing their research ahead of time. So if they're recruiting someone, if they're trying to meet with someone, they're going to do all of that research up front before they make the ask. And they're also going to incorporate that into a conversation. A few years ago, it wasn't probably very comfortable to talk to someone when you first met them about, oh, I see that you went to this school and you care about, volunteering and philanthropy and things that you might have picked up on their profile. Now it's more assumed that you have checked each other out online and you actually can have a more fruitful and more productive conversation because of it. So making sure that all of your information is up to date and you're kind of sharing the most important aspects of yourself and your company online is really important, so that they don't kind of set you on the side and go either to your competitor or to another company just based on that online presence alone. And then in terms of actually generating conversions, LinkedIn is more expensive when it comes to advertising because you are able to get to those gatekeepers that you really want to talk to, but it does have the highest conversion rate in terms of generating traffic and getting those people to convert into future customers because you are able to do so much research ahead of time. While Facebook and Twitter are really important in terms of generating traffic from consumers, LinkedIn is really important in terms of generating job candidates, or if you have a high price point item that requires more of a B2B relationship, then LinkedIn is the platform to be on. And then finally, we'll talk about Google+. And Google+ is actually a platform, it's owned by Google, so it's important. But it's also a platform that's really struggled to gain traction among a wide audience. There are 400 million active users, although some people would argue you have to create a Google+ account in order to have a Gmail account. So again, kind of the number of active users and the number of people who set up an account who have Gmail is a little bit skewed. But they've also recently changed how businesses interact on Google+. Businesses are able to create a Google My Business page to manage. If you have multiple retail locations, storefronts, Google My Business is really how you're going to interact when you're on Google. And then that's transitioned from Google Places. So there's a lot of interesting ways that Google Plus is changing how retail brick and mortar locations get found online and how accurate their information is. So it's really important that they kind of get their arms around what their Google Plus profile looks like. And this is also what's interesting about Google Plus is that you'll see when someone types in your company, if you are set up on Google Plus or Google My Business and all of your information is accurate, it'll actually auto-populate all of that information on the right-hand side of the screen. So it's really easy from someone who really quickly wants to get information about your business and connect with you. As long as your information is up to date, it's going to give you the connections to make right away. So I'll pause for a quick second. Do we have any burning questions at this point, or should we keep going with the? Okay. All right. So now we're going to dig into. I'm kind of giving you an overview of these platforms. Where I really love to kind of work is in what can we do with them from a business standpoint. So at the Socialites, what we think about when we think about social media for business is really, again, driving that growth throughout your business, pushing the needle, measuring how are we actually affecting the bottom line of the company. So this is an infographic that we put together in terms of, by building those relationships online, not only are you gaining awareness and that trust of your customers, but you're also creating loyalty, leads, sales, driving people kind of down that sales funnel, but then out as advocates of your company as well, because you've created a relationship with them and they want to spread the word about your business too. So how we start about thinking about social for your business is really with that strategy side of things. When you think about social and all the platforms, you have to think about which channel should I be on? Should I be on Facebook? Should I be on LinkedIn? Should I pick and choose? You also have to think about not only which ones do I think I want to be on, but which channels is my audience on. And I think that sometimes gets overlooked. Everyone thinks, oh, there's another new social channel. We have to jump on it. We have to create an account. But if you take a step back and you think about, is my audience on that platform? Are they going to engage with me on that platform? Maybe it's more cost effective to decide not to be on it. And then when it comes to building a content calendar, thinking about what types of conversations is my audience having, and what type of conversations do I want to have with my audience. So it's really putting together those main content themes of what are the 5 buckets or 5 areas that we can talk to our customers about, whether that's from a social media business, it's how are the platforms changing, what are case studies that are happening of businesses that are doing a good job. Really kind of having main themes that you develop your content around. And then for your channel plans, it's really putting together that strategy of how often are we going to post? How many hours a day are we going to dedicate a resource to posting on our social channels? And what kind of graphics are they going to create? Should we create videos? Should we create infographics? It's really kind of mapping out the channel, the audience, the type of content, and then the frequency of posting. And then finally, one thing that you can't overlook is how are our audience and our members of our community going to react to that content? What questions are they going to have? What concerns might they have that could bubble up in social? How are we as a company going to respond to those things? And who's going to respond? We work with a lot of companies from funded startups to Fortune 50 companies. And when we think about a response strategy, we usually have a lot of questions up front as the team is going to manage that for them of who are we going to escalate crises to. We've all read stories in the news about a situation on social media being mishandled. It's what keeps a lot of CEOs up at night. Am I going to go to bed and tomorrow my company is going to be all over the news because someone posted something on social media that went viral? But really by having a tight response strategy in place and an escalation process, you can have your social media team deal with that and prevent something from escalating into a public crisis and really bring that into more of a private forum or discussion internally. And as you're thinking through all of those things, and platforms, and channels, and audiences, I think it's really good to set initial goals for the why. Why are we going to spend time doing this? And it's the first conversation that we have anytime we talk to our clients is, again, who is your audience? What type of content will appeal to them? Where do they want to engage? What time of day? And then how are you going to measure it? And here's some of those answers. So again, you want to write down specific things that you're going to be measuring in terms of generating leads, acquiring fans and followers, connecting with people. Maybe a lead from LinkedIn is more valuable and converts higher than a lead from an email. So really kind of measuring the conversion on those too. And these are the specific KPIs that I would recommend, tracking on a weekly or a monthly basis, just to make sure that you're following through on those goals. Are we meeting them? Are we having higher or lower months? Is our strategy going to be seasonal? There's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're measuring the KPIs, but one of our brand beliefs is measure, 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 because you don't know if you're moving the needle if you're not measuring it and you're not looking at those numbers. And then when it comes to the people side of things, who's actually going to do the heavy lifting of community management? Because there's a lot that goes into the daily post. There's the strategy. Are we following the strategy? What kind of content are we creating and creative assets that go with it? What are we using to manage that conversation? Who's listening? If there's company meetings going on all day long, who is the person that's tuning into the social conversation and making sure that we're hearing what's happening out there and we're responding in a timely manner? And then again, that measuring piece, the analytics of how are we measuring this on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, and are we hitting those metrics? What do we need to change? Really asking deeper questions. From the socialite standpoint, we really believe with community management, there's organic, what you're kind of doing, and then a lot of those paid advertising channels where you're amplifying the content that you're creating. And we really believe that those things should be managed by the same team internally, so making sure that they're very well trained and well versed in how the social platforms work so that they can continue to do their job effectively. And then the last kind of section that we'll cover here before we go into Q&A is really how do we make all of this process work really efficiently? Am I logging into Facebook every morning and thinking, what am I going to post on Facebook today? How do I do it? There's tools out there that make it really easy for you to manage your social media presence. So the three things you think about when you're managing is, managing is 50% what you're talking about and 50% listening to the conversation that's happening. And then choosing when to engage and measuring that engagement. So these are a list of social media management tools that we kind of put together for you, and I'm happy to share this with you afterwards. But these range from everything from, what a startup can use just to get started, free tools to help automate the process, all the way up to large enterprise level management tools. So for example, Google Alerts. If you have a company in, let's say, the clothing industry, you can set Google Alerts for any time your company is mentioned or any time your competitors are mentioned in news stories that get published to Google. Have any of you ever set a Google Alert? Yeah, Google Alerts are great, as long as they're really specific to what you're looking to follow and the conversations you're looking to follow. But that's something that's free, that anyone can set up a Google Alert for their business and start to just kind of listen to that conversation. Again, kind of all going down through Google Trends. Google's put together a website. You can go to googletrends.com, and you can type in anything. You can type in Minnesota Vikings, and Google's going to tell you in the last year, what does that conversation look like? Where is it taking place across the world? What are the top shared links for the Minnesota Vikings? And that's a free tool that anyone can use, whether you're looking at your company, your industry, a specific product or service. You can go and see what the conversation is around that. And a lot of these other tools do the same thing, but more specifically for social media and for the different platforms. And then in terms of actually doing the hard lifting for you, there's some software that allow you to publish, monitor, respond, and also do your reporting all within one platform. So we talked about creating that social strategy and doing the community management. These platforms actually help you to do that process. So if you are doing social media or if you have a social media team, I would highly recommend looking into a management tool. Some range from a subscription of $39 a month. Some are free. Some could be upwards of $1,000 a month, which you probably don't need unless you're a General Mills or a Target and you have a huge social team. But I would highly recommend using these tools because it's just your one place that you can go to kind of see that entire social conversation. And for us, this is what we train all of our community managers into using so that if they were to ever go on site somewhere or take on a new client, they can just kind of get set up and going as soon as possible. So, I'll quick recap and then we'll kind of go into Q&A. Key takeaways in terms of the social media platforms, they're always changing and they all have their different nuances. So we already talked about leaning into the technology. Use the platform for what it's best for. You don't have to use all the platforms the same. Develop a social business strategy. So again, thinking through which platform should I be on, who is our target audience, and how am I going to reach them. Use social listening, again, for consumer insights, for competitive research. There's so many ways that listening to the social conversation can just enrich even a business meeting about, hey, did you see the articles that are really, that are being shared right now? Or did you see who spoke at this conference and who had some of the conversation? Then again, kind of picking the right management tools to make that process effective, and then setting goals and tracking KPIs to know whether you guys are moving the needle at your company or not. So, in closing, I think we can all appreciate that the goal is not to just be good at social media, the goal is to be good at business because of social media. So, there you go. Yeah?
Isn't the value of paid social declining? I mean, part of this is that people saw right through advertising and want to go to something more genuine, what you call organic social. And in a lot of cases, companies, even represented in this room, probably shouldn't even consider paid social. What's your view on it?
So my view, the question was if people should consider paid social media or if they should use just organic social media to kind of get started.
Because it's more authentic.
Because it's more authentic.
Younger folks and others will see like people.
Yeah, I would say that we consider them to go hand in hand. The matter of fact is that everything is shifting towards paid. So what used to be is that you could go out and you could get people to like your Facebook page, and every time you posted a piece of content to that audience you built, they would see it. The problem is, because Facebook and the platforms are going towards paid advertising, they're limiting the number of people in your own community that can see the content. So what I would say is there needs to be a healthy mix of both. For your organic content strategy piece, you need to create authentic conversations and content that your audience is going to engage with. Why you're going to boost it is so that your audience sees it in their newsfeed. Because Facebook has an algorithm called edging. They're always tweaking that, and based on whether people are engaging with your content, they're either going to lift it higher in the newsfeed or they're going to hide it from your audience. So if you're not getting a lot of engagement on your post because people aren't seeing it, it might not even be worth your time to continue posting and creating the content without boosting it so that more people can see it. So I think you need a healthy mix of both.
Let me jump in just for a second and try to get everybody on their way. We have the room as long as anyone wants to stay, and I'm sure Emily would be happy to stay. I'm sure Emily will give you her presentation. I can give you a presentation, so anybody wants to either see the two of us. Why don't we just ask one more question, and then we'll let the folks take off if they need to take off.
Okay.
small business. Emily, your job will be what to help us? Will you go out, will you come to us and teach us all this? Or?
Yep. So for anyone who's part of the small business out here, what can the socialites do for you to help you? There are a few things that we offer. We do offer to do assessments. So that's where we go in as you're starting to think about which channel should I be on, who is my target audience. We'll actually go in and evaluate that conversation for you and make a strategic recommendation for what we think you should build in terms of your social strategy. If you already know who your audience is and you're already launched on social media and you just need a jump start for getting going, we can come in and develop, your social media strategy and kind of, again, that roadmap for how often are we posting, what kind of content are we creating. Let's build our library of content. We also offer, if you want to learn how to do it yourself, we do offer social media training sessions. These are usually custom based on your industry, but we have in the past offered some workshops and boot camps to kind of help people get the fundamentals down so that they're really armed with the right tools to get started. And you can talk to either me, Allie, Brittany, or Martha afterwards. We'll all kind of be able to speak to the socialites and what we offer as a company. But hopefully this presentation kind of gets the wheels turning about how you can get